Tyrone Bowman Live. Welcome to the Sunday edition of Global News. There are a lot of news stories that have transpired within the last 72 hours, and I'm going to attempt to cover as many of them as I possibly can during these few moments that we have time together. Thank you for subscribing to Tyrone Bowman Live. I appreciate it. And thank you for always being a part of the conversation and a part of the program. Let's get right down to business on today. I'm working with some new equipment, so be patient with me. I'm trying to see how it's working out. I really don't know yet, so all this is kind of new to me. According to ABC News, and I want to talk about this article that was written by Nicholas Kerr. It was written on yesterday. And this article is President Barack Obama's response to the meme of him and Michelle Obama. According to ABC News, former President Barack Obama spoke out at a week after President Donald Trump's social media account posted a video depicting him and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes, condemning behavior on television and social media as a, quote, clown show. So this is President Obama's response. Obama was asked about the media post, which was taken down following growing calls from both sides of the aisle, hours after Trump shared it during an interview with podcaster Brian Taylor Cohen posted on Saturday. Quote, well, first of all, I think it's important to recognize that the majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling, end quote, Obama said. He added, quote, and there's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. What is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost, end quote. The minute-long video was posted on Trump's social media platform on February 5 at 11:45 p.m. It largely focused on debunked claims about the 2020 election, but near the end abruptly showed the Obama's faces on the bodies of apes without explanation and the song, quote, The Lion King Sleeps Tonight, end quote, playing over it. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt first brushed off criticism of the video the next morning as fake outrage and said the racist emanation of Obama's was from an internet meme that depicted Trump as king of the jungle and Democrats as various animals. But later, a White House official claimed a staffer erroneously made the post. Well, isn't it ironic that this supposed staffer has never been named or never been disciplined? And that's because the person does not exist. That's the bottom line. You know, there's a lot of lying news going on, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I carefully do my homework and research. Several hours later, Trump maintained he didn't make a mistake and that he didn't see the entire video before he gave it to the people to have it posted to his account. Trump told reporters this week that the unidentified staffer who allegedly posted the video had not been disciplined for posting the video on his account because there is no staffer. That's the bottom line. There is none. Asked by ABC News' Fritz Farrell on February 6 if he condemned the racist portion of the video, Trump said, quote, of course I do, end quote. All right, let's move on from this story, ladies and gentlemen, because there are a lot more other things. Now, this is according to CBS News. The headline reads, Ukrainian drone strike sparks fire at a Russian Black Sea port ahead of talks with U.S. I think this war has been going on almost 5 years now. If my recollection serves me correctly, this article was written for ABC News. I'm trying to find the author of the article so I can give them proper credit for reading their info, but I don't see their name here. And if I happen to see it somewhere in the reading, then I'll give them the credit. A fire broke out at one of Russia's Black Sea ports on Sunday after a Ukrainian drone strike wounded at least 2 people. Officials said the drone comes days ahead of fresh U.S. brokered talks aimed at ending the nearly 4-year-old war. The strike on the port of Taman in the Krasnodar region damaged an oil storage tank, warehouse, and terminals, according to Regional Governor Vyacheslav Kondravev. Meanwhile, falling debris from Russian drones damaged civilian and transport infrastructure in Ukraine's Odessa region, officials said, disrupting the power and water supply. Ukrainians' long-range drone strikes on Russian energy sites aim to deprive Moscow of the oil export revenue it needs to pursue its full-scale invasion. Russia wants to cripple the Ukrainian power grid, seeking to deny civilians access to heat, light, and running water in what Kyiv officials say is an attempt to weaponize winter. Sometimes it seems like the mongers of war would rather have war instead of to have peace, because war in some instances is more profitable than peace. When people are getting along, really they don't have anything to complain about. So they'd rather have the war going on. That way they have something to complain about, and then they can keep people constantly at each other's throats. So here's what to know about the investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance and the search for clues, according to AssociatedPressNews.com. This article was published on actually today, coming from Tucson, Arizona. Law enforcement agents have been gathering more potential evidence as the search for Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother heads into its 3rd week. Samantha Guthrie, who is 84, was last seen at her Arizona home on January 31 and was reported missing the following day. Authorities say her blood was found on the front porch. Purported ransom notes were sent to news outlets, but 2 deadlines for paying have passed. Authorities have expressed concern about Nancy Guthrie's health because she needs vital daily medicine. She is said to have a pacemaker and have dealt with high blood pressure and heart issues, according to Sheriff's Dispatcher audio on Broadcastify.com. So here's what you all need to know about her disappearance and the intense search to find her. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, released surveillance videos of a masked person wearing a handgun holster outside Guthrie's front door in Tucson the night she vanished. A porch camera recorded video of a person with a backpack who was wearing a ski mask, long pants, jacket, and gloves. On Thursday, the FBI called the person a suspect. It described him as a man about 5 feet 9 inches tall with a medium build. The agency said he was carrying a 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker pack or backpack. Investigators initially said there was no surveillance video available since Guthrie didn't have an active subscription to the doorbell camera company. But digital forensic experts kept working to find images and back-end software that might have lost, corrupted, or inaccessible. Investigators collected DNA from Guthrie's property, which doesn't belong to Guthrie or those in contact or close contact with her. The Pima County Sheriff's Department said investigators are working to identify who it belongs to. Evidence requiring forensic analysis is being sent to the same out-of-state lab that has been used since the beginning of the case, the department said. Investigators found several gloves, the nearest about 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers from Guthrie's home, and submitted them for lab analysis. The Sheriff's Department said it did not specify what type of gloves. The sheriff stressed his department is working closely with the FBI. The Pima County Sheriff and the FBI announced phone numbers and a website to offer tips. Several hundred detectives and agents have been assigned to the case, the Sheriff's Department said. The FBI said it has collected more than 13,000 tips since February 1st, the day Guthrie was reported missing. The Sheriff's Department, meanwhile, said it has taken at least 18,000 calls. The Sheriff's Department has not said whether any tips have advanced the investigation. Last Friday night, law enforcement sealed off a road about 2 miles from Guthrie's home as part of their investigation. A parade of sheriff's and FBI videos, including forensic vehicles, passed through the road block. The investigators also tagged and towed a Range Rover SUV from a nearby Culver's restaurant parking lot later that Friday. So I'll keep you all informed as this story continues to develop. You're watching Tyrone Bowman Live Global News. Okay, a judge has dismissed a deportation case against a father of 3 U.S. Marines, according to the lawyer. This article is written by Armando Garcia. An immigration judge has dismissed removal proceedings against Narcisco Barranco, an undocumented father of 3 U.S. Marines who was detained while at his landscaping job in California last summer, his attorney told ABC News. Barranco's violent arrest in front of an IHOP was captured on camera. The Department of Homeland Security accused him of threatening agents with a weed trimmer as they were attempting to detain him, claims his family pushed back on at the time. On Thursday, Barranco's attorney, Lisa Ramirez, who is also running for Congress in California, told ABC News her client has a pending application for parole in place, a program that allows some immediate relatives of veterans to apply for legal status. If his petition is approved, he may then be able to apply for a green card. Here's a man who raised 3 U.S. citizen Marine sons, men who put their lives on the line for the protection of this country and our freedom and everything else that we stand for in principle. To have their father apprehended in one of the most brutal ways imaginable was a slap in the face, his attorney said. ABC News have requested comments from DHS about the case. Federal agents arrested Narcisco Barranco in Santa Ana on June 21. According to the Department of Homeland Security, video of him being forcibly detained showed masked agents holding him down on the street and repeatedly punching him after he ran from agents. Well, you would run too if somebody just popped up on you, jumped up out of a car, pulled out their guns, started hurling all types of obscenities at you. Let's not make it appear like these agents are saints, ladies and gentlemen. They're doing a job that they were told to do in the most forceful, violent ways. And in too many instances, innocent people have gotten caught up in this. And if individuals are undocumented and they want to come into America the right way, then why don't they just work with them instead of just trying to criminalize everybody? You know, you have more criminals in politics, in Congress, and in the Senate who are governors, and mayors, and people around the nation. Yet they serve with impunity as long as they serve the party's interest. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to take a break. And then I'm going to get back to what's happening here. All right. I want to move to some news from overseas and talk about some of the other things that are happening around the world. I'd like to get news from the BBC broadcasting network. All right, this is a story worth talking about. Iran is ready to discuss compromises to reach a nuclear deal, the minister tells BBC in Tehran. Iran is ready to consider compromises to reach a nuclear deal with the U.S. if the Americans are willing to discuss lifting sanctions, an Iranian minister has told the BBC. U.S. officials have repeatedly emphasized that Iran, not the U.S., is holding up progress in this protracted negotiating process. On Saturday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said President Donald Trump preferred a deal, but it was very hard to do one with Iran. But in an interview with the British Broadcasting Corporation in Tehran, Majid Tafik Bavinci, Iran's deputy foreign minister, said the ball was in America's court to prove that they want to deal, adding, if they are sincere, I'm sure we will be on the road to an agreement. Trump has threatened strikes against Iran if a deal to curb its nuclear program cannot be reached, with the U.S. building up its military presence in the region. This followed Iran's violent repression of nationwide anti-government protests last month, which human rights groups say killed many thousands of people. The U.S. and Iran had indirect talks in the Gulf state of Oman earlier in February, and their minister confirmed a second round was set to take place in Geneva on this coming Tuesday. Said they had been more or less in a positive direction, but it is too early to judge. Trump has also described those talks as positive. The deputy foreign minister pointed at Tehran's offer to dilute its 60% enriched uranium as evidence of its willingness to compromise. At near weapons grade level, it has deepened suspicion that the Islamic Republic is moving towards the development of a nuclear weapon, something it has always denied. Wasn't it just not too long ago in 2016, they were talking about North Korea building a nuclear weapon, but yet no talk of North Korea has taken place within the last several years. I've read several articles, but isn't it ironic that no talks about nuclear weapons and North Korea has come up in any conversation whatsoever? I wonder why. It's just ironic that at this point in time, if people have nuclear weapons and you want them to denuclearize, then that should be around the globe, should it not? As to whether Iran would agree to ship its stockpile of more than 400K of highly enriched uranium out of Iran, as it did in the 2015 nuclear deal, the minister said it was too early to say what will happen in the course of negotiations. Russia, which accepted 11,000 kg of uranium enrichment to a low level as part of the 2015, multilateral accord that Trump pulled out of 3 years later, has offered to accept this material again. Other proposals previously reported in the media include an offer from Tehran to temporarily suspend nuclear enrichment. One of Iran's main demands has been that talks should focus only on the nuclear file. Our understanding is that they have come to the conclusion that if you want to have a deal, you have to focus on the nuclear issue. Quote, close quote, coming from the minister. Tyrone Bowman live. I'll be right back after this short break. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Tyrone Bowman, Live Global News. I was talking about the upcoming nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S. And it appears that all the talks are going to center on one particular thing, and it's going to be dealing with the nuclear weapons. That's what the talks are going to be centered about. Iran wants the sanctions lift from the country. So we're going to find out exactly how things are going to make out. All right, an MP was honored to meet Pope to discuss food and poverty, according to BBC News. This article was written by Mark Gear. An MP has met with the Pope to talk about his Right to Food campaign. Ian Byrne, Labour MP for Liverpool West Derby, visited the Vatican in Rome to speak with Pope Leo the 16th as part of a parliamentary delegation. During his visit, he explained the work he has done in the UK to reduce hunger and food poverty, and gave the pontiff a Right to Food badge. Byrne said, "It was an honor beyond words to present a Right to Food badge to Pope Leo in the Vatican this week and to speak about the work of the hashtag Right to Food Commission. The fight to end hunger was about justice and rights and is also about political will to make genuine systemic change," he added. Byrne said the Pope listened and he was interested in issues around hunger, so it was brilliant. Byrne is chair of the all-party parliamentary group of the Holy See, which is the governing body of the Catholic Church and the Vatican. The politician previously met Pope Francis in the same capacity in October 2022, describing this as one of the proudest moments in my life. And he is also co-founder of the Fans Supporting Food Banks initiative, which sees football fans donating food for those in need in Liverpool. Fighting hunger is a major thing, ladies and gentlemen, and this issue cannot be ignored. It should not be taken lightly because hunger affects so many people around the world. And if one person is hungry, eventually a lot more people are going to be hungry as well. I want to bring some news from the Wall Street Journal for a moment because I would like to know exactly what is going on. Maybe you'll like this story that's printed in Forbes magazine. And the headline reads, "Proof of work is what's in your wallet, not on the Bitcoin blockchain." You know, I know a lot of people who have fallen for the Bitcoin thing, ladies and gentlemen, and they're coming up short all the time because they don't know what they're doing. They call themselves to be internet investors without the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding and the expertise about what Bitcoin is. And the only people who are going to be making money are those who are in the industry who know how the game is played. You know, you have to pay taxes on everything that you get. A lot of individuals think this stuff is free money. It is not free money. And just because you find yourself getting involved in something doesn't mean you necessarily know what you're talking about or what you're doing. So this article was written by whom? By John Tammy, a contributor to Forbes. Venezuela's economy runs on dollars. So do the economics of just about every nation with a failed currency on its resume. This is markets at work. Producers bring goods and services to market with an eye on getting equal amounts in return, which means devalued, printed currencies routinely disappear from circulation. No producer will take what's not trusted as an exchange medium for real market goods or services. Markets once again at work. Applying the above in Argentina, another nation with a failed local currency, the Argentine peso. American visitors to the country with dollars in pocket are routinely asked to part with them when acting locally. Some Argentines are so eager to get their hands on dollars that they'll hand over their American bank account number to American customers so they'll pay into that account upon return to the US, which is telling about many things, including cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. So, what do people really know about Bitcoin? Unless they're really studying what it is. There's a proof of work aspects to Bitcoin out quoting Google AI on the latter proof of work, quote, requires computers or miners to solve complex mathematical puzzles to validate transactions and create new blocks. It secures the blockchain against fraud and double spending by requiring significant computational energy, end quote, which makes sense. It's a reminder that behind every currency in circulation, there's work that preceded. It's crucial when it's remembered that money buys nothing. In truth, production buys production, with circulating media the essential proof of work. In the early days of America, they didn't have paper money. And when paper money came into being, there was a war regarding paper money because everything was based upon a trading and bartering system. That is historic and that is real. And didn't Argentina get a $50 billion from USA? They probably did. I'll have to fact check it. Okay, happy birthday to your wife. So that there are calls into question the thrill among Bitcoin proponents that the so-called currency is imprinted by treasuries, mints, or allegedly evil central banks, with each circulating Bitcoin backed by work. It should theoretically be exchanged for real market goods, services, and labor too. The problem with Bitcoin, one of its proponents refuse to acknowledge that Bitcoin isn't money. It's worse than money. And that's not because it's down from fairly recent highs. What is Bitcoin worthless as money is because by the admission of its biggest cheerleaders, it's a speculation on a scarcity such that the coin itself will keep rising in value. Yet even if we accept the latter as true and without regard to the recent decline of the coin, what persistently rises in value will never work as money exactly because trade is products for products. Get it? For now, it's useful to stress that proof of work, quote, close work, quote, close quote, can be found in a currency's acceptance within the marketplace. This isn't government or governments or the US Treasury issuing a currency that is legal tender. It's producers in the marketplace demanding production in exchange for their own. This being true in all transactions, there are vanishing few currencies circulating relative to the hundreds issued by governments around the world. I think that's enough of that article because it goes on and on and on. All right, let's find out what's happening. Let's see, we have 17 people here. Here's a good article about farmers. Farmers are aging. Their kids don't want to be in the family business. I wonder why. According to Patrick Thomas, who wrote this article for the Wall Street Journal, the fifth generation farmer still wakes early each morning to tend to roughly 1,000 acres of corn and soybeans and 40 cattle. But 4 decades of grueling work, a bout with prostate cancer, and surgery to replace both of his hips with titanium implants have taken their toll. The 74-year-old estimates he can maintain the current workload for a couple more years under the guise of generations of, pardon me, give me a second, under the gaze of generations of guinea pigs. No, wait a minute. Oh, that's not guinea pigs. Oh, under the guise of generations of guinea nips in black and white photos, he gathers his 4 siblings to chart the future of the family's farm and contemplates a day when a guinea nip no longer cares for the land that runs along Guinea Nip Road. The natural choice is to take over his sons and daughter, who left for college and now work in corporate fields. His siblings made the decision years earlier. It's disappointing to me, Guinea Nip says, holding back tears. That's the way the dice were rolled, and you have to accept what life gives you. Well, farming is not easy work. It's strenuous. It's arduous. It's long. It's backbreaking. Who wants to work in the sun all day and all night? And young men and women, they want a better life outside of being a farmer. And because they probably saw what their parents have gone through, and they don't want to go through the same thing. The number of farmers in America has been shrinking for years, but rising costs and weak commodity prices are pushing more families out at a faster rate. In 2025, 315 farms filed for bankruptcy, up 46% from 2024. U.S. court data shows. You know why they filed for bankruptcy? Because of immigration. That's why. The crops are rotting. People aren't buying the goods. They don't have anybody to work the farm land. The farmers are running out of money, and no one is coming to save the farming industry. You know, agriculture is vitally important in life, whether people think so or not, because without farms, the nation will not survive. Just like the trucking industry is vitally important, because if the trucking industry does not flourish, how are the goods going to be moved around the world? So those left are aging. There are more farmers 75 years and older than under the age of 35, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They are facing tough choices and tougher prospects. Family agriculture is in crisis, and American farmers and ranchers are fighting for their livelihoods, says National Farmers Union President Rob LaRue. Many farmers already rely on government bailouts to stay afloat. In 2024, Congress approved $10 billion in bailout funds and $21 billion in natural disaster relief for growers and ranchers. The Trump administration's trade policies exacerbated the situation, pushing more families and communities to the brink. In December, the White House pledged $12 billion in aid to farmers. Even with that money, corn growers are expected to be in the red again in 2026, industry estimates show. Thousands across the U.S. are closing the book on farms that have been in their families for generations, either by selling to a larger entity or declaring bankruptcy. It has transformed food production in local communities. Critics of farm consolidation say it's also led to less crop diversity, presenting risk for the broader food system. The disappearance of small farms has carried steep consequences for rural America, upending the transfer of wealth long attached to the land between generations, and the tough economics are making the search for successors more challenging. Children of farmers today have more opportunities to work beyond agriculture than they did decades ago, and families are typically smaller, shrinking the pool of possible candidates. Seated around the living room, Inip and his siblings dig into pockets filled with appraisals and farm history as they discuss plans for land potentially worth millions of dollars. While Ganip has sold oversight of the acres and animals, his parents left the family farm in trust that split ownership between him, David, Susan, Sally, and Dan. Every year, Ganip pays his siblings rent based on the farm's performance. One thing that helps is that he is very frugal. He still lives in the more than century-old house his grandfather built. His truck recently lost power steering, which is from the 1990s. Instead of buying new equipment and hiring help, he uses an aging tractor and combine. Why would I buy new equipment if I have no one to pass it along, he says. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to continue this this article on tomorrow, because it's very, very lengthy, and I want to be able to do justice to this particular article. All right, I'm going to read one more article and then we're going to be going for today. Maybe till about 12 o'clock and I'll be back. Okay, this is from The Guardian. And this article was written by Edward Helmore. And the article reads, quote, so scared U.S. trial witnesses allege Alexander brothers worked together to rape women. Real estate agent brothers Tal, Oren, Alan, Alexander, known as closers, are on trial in New York for sex trafficking. I wonder if they are going to be convicted like Diddy was. What do you think? Do you think these men right here are alleged sex traffickers? You think they fit the profile? What do you think? Well, let's talk about it real quick. I'm going to read the article word for word. My opinion doesn't matter. What's in this article is what matters. In their time as real estate brothers, the Israeli-American Alexander brothers, twins Alan and Oren, and older brother Tal, were known as closers, the salesmen who could get a sale over finish line, often to wealthy hedge funders who were then making hay in aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. Their technique, one real estate expert explained outside the 26th floor of the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan last week, was based on the sense that the property salesman was just like their clients, young, eager, and successful. Kim Kardashian and then husband Kanye West, Jared, and Ivanka Trump were clients, and like many, they were party animals. Nightclubs in Manhattan, the Hamptons, Miami, Aspen, Tulum, and Ibiza were seasonal stops. Tal and Oren 38 were profiled in the New York Times on how two luxury real estate agents spend their Sundays. The Wall Street Journal followed on their family's $31 million sale of their Miami Beach home. U.S. Vogue featured Oren's wedding to a Brazilian model, but a far more nastier picture of their high life has been on display in court for the past few weeks, where the three brothers are on trial for sex trafficking. Prosecutors have accused each of the three brothers of violent, forcible rape of at least 10 women each, and in some cases threatening them if they spoke of their experiences. The accomplished real estate closers, according to prosecutors, took no chances when it came to their pursuit of sex and worked together in a conspiracy to lure, incapacitate, and attack women. All this is alleged. The three brothers have pleaded not guilty and denied the allegations. The civil case against Oren and his twin began in March 2024 when they were sued by Kate Whiteman, a woman who said she had met they met in a Manhattan nightclub in 2012. She claimed they forced her into an SUV as she was leaving and drove her to the Hamptons, where she was assaulted at a party mansion called Sir Ivan's Castle. A flood of similar allegations followed. But Whiteman is not in court to testify. It was reported last month that she was found dead near Sydney late last year. Authorities in New South Wales have said the circumstances of Whiteman's death were found to be non-suspicious. Really? So they automatically concluded that her death was found to be non-suspicious and she was scheduled to testify in the upcoming trial. What do they think people are stupid? Do they think people are imbeciles? She's a key witness in an alleged sex trafficking case and she's found dead. Come on, people. Common sense here. Real common sense. As the trial entered its third week, the court heard from Abushan Janald, a woman who testified that she witnessed an unidentified woman being raped by Tal, 39, and one of the twins in the Hamptons in May 2009. She told jurors she was in the house when a party member returned and she saw Tal dragging a woman who was not walking on her own to the pool. Then the next morning, the thing I heard was a woman screaming and just asking people to stop. She said she witnessed Tal and the twin moaning as they raped the woman in the hot tub. Bowman, who said she was terrified to intervene, acknowledged she had written rapist and you need to apologize from the brother's door before she left the house, but acknowledged she had not called 911 and was warned that the Alexander brothers were very powerful. A day earlier, jurors were shown text exchanges the government says show that the brothers coordinated to secure drugs, including ketamine, Xanax, Ambien, and GBH they allegedly used to incapacitate women, lured using the promise of luxury travel and exclusive experiences. I'm going to have to make this a two-part conversation here. So this will continue in the next video. This trial right here, I'll pick this back up around the 12 o'clock hour. I'll just leave my phone open so I can pick it right back up where I leave off at. Powerful brothers on trial for alleged sex trafficking. All right, we'll find out what's going to happen with this particular case. Very powerful, wealthy. Do wealthy people get away with more crimes than the average person? Yes, they do. Are they given favoritism? Yes, they are. Jurors are bribed, judges are bribed, police are bribed, all the way around. Everyday common people deal with so many things. Good to see you, Comp. How you doing, Comp Pop? Welcome to the program. Someone asked, yes, they do. I agree with you. Wealthy people do have privileges that everyday people don't have. And they're always saying that things are conspiratorial. Things are made up. Individuals don't know what they're talking about. They are hypochondriacs. Well, everybody can't be lying. And why is it hard? And this is what bothers me in America. Why is it that victims are always the ones who are being harassed, threatened, intimidated, and not believed? Why? I know people who falsely claim these things happened and people were convicted, and then real victims of crime are not believed. They're not believed in most instances because the defense attorneys are paid a lot of money to destroy them. I've read so many articles within the last several years about victimization and the psychological damage that it does to real victims of crime. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap this portion of the broadcast up for now. I'll be back around the 12 o'clock hour. So until then, thank you all for watching. Never surrender, never quit. Oh, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, kindly subscribe to Tyrone Bowman Live. I appreciate it. You're welcome. All right, I'll be back at 12.